The room you are in right now has a color, and that color is changing you, not as a metaphor, chemically, neurologically. Right now, as your eyes grow heavy, the wavelengths of light around you are quietly reshaping your hormones, adjusting your heart rate, and signaling your brain whether it is safe to let go. You never noticed, but it has been happening every single day of your entire life. Welcome to Relaxing Sleepy Science. Wherever you are right now, let your body settle. Let your jaw soften. Let your shoulders drop. Let your hands rest open. If this kind of quiet is what your mind has been looking for, please like this video and subscribe so other tired minds can find their way here too. And now, fact 1. Color is not a property of the world outside you. It is a creation of your brain. What physically exists is light, electromagnetic waves ranging from roughly 380 to 700 nanometers. Your eye collects those waves. Your brain builds the color. Neuroscientist David Williams at the University of Rochester demonstrated that color perception is an active construction, not a passive reception. The brain fills in gaps, makes interpretations, builds a model of the world from incomplete data. Every shade of blue that has ever calmed you, every red that ever made your pulse rise, built entirely inside you. Fact 2. Your eye contains approximately 6 million cone cells, responsible for all color vision. They come in 3 types: sensitive to long wavelengths for red, medium for green, short for blue. Researcher Brian Wandel at Stanford University spent decades mapping how these 3 cell types combine their signals to produce your full visual world. Every color you have ever experienced, every lilac dusk, every deep green forest, every warm gold of a late afternoon, is your brain's interpretation of just 3 inputs, the entire emotional spectrum of color, built on 3 notes. Fact 3. Red light sits at approximately 700 nanometers. Blue sits near 450 nanometers. That gap, 250 billionths of a meter, is the difference between 2 entirely different states in your body. Andrew Elliott at the University of Rochester, publishing in Psychological Science, demonstrated that red exposure produces a measurable rise in heart rate and alertness. Blue produces the opposite, a slowing, a softening, a quieting of arousal. This is not a metaphor, it is a measurable physiological shift. Right now, in the low light of your room, the stimulating long wavelengths have faded. Your nervous system is registering their absence, and it is beginning right now to release its hold on the day. Fact 4. The scientific study of color and emotion has continued for 128 years. Researchers Domichele Jonowski and Christine Morat, the Color Experience Research Laboratory in Lausanne, conducted a systematic review published in Psychonomic Bulletin and Review. Drawing on studies from 1895 through 2022, involving 42,266 participants across 64 countries, their finding was striking. Humans across cultures, centuries, and geographies respond to color in remarkably consistent ways. These associations are not simply learned. They appear to be evolutionary, wired deeply into the shared architecture of the human brain. Your responses to color are not random preferences. They are ancient inheritances. Fact 5. color reaches your emotional brain before it reaches your thinking brain. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux at New York University demonstrated that sensory signals can trigger emotional responses in the amygdala before the prefrontal cortexes fully processed what it is receiving. Color is no exception. The signal branches toward the limbic system almost simultaneously with its arrival in the visual cortex. You feel a color before you think about it. This is not a flaw in your awareness. It is an ancient, fast, efficient system, reading your environment and adjusting your body before you have formed a single conscious opinion. Right now, the darkness your eyes are resting in reached your amygdala before you heard these words. And what it told that ancient part of your brain was, the day is over. The scan can stop. Fact 6. There is a dedicated region of the brain for color alone. It is called Area V4. Neuroscientist Samir Zeki at University College, London identified V4 as essential to conscious color experience. Patients with damage specifically to V4 experience cerebral achromatopsia. They see only gray despite having perfectly healthy eyes. The color was always in the brain. The eye was only the instrument of collection. Tonight, as the light in your room has dimmed, your V4 is receiving quieter, sparser signals, and it is winding down accordingly. One more system, gently switching to rest. Fact 7. Color perception involves more than 200 distinct neural computations running simultaneously. Researcher Margaret Livingstone at Harvard Medical School, in her work Vision and Art, The Biology of Seeing, described how the visual system separates color from brightness, form, and motion in parallel pathways. Color signals reach memory and emotion through the limbic pathway, which is why certain colors can surface a memory instantly before you choose to. A particular yellow and you are somewhere from long ago. A blue that belongs to one room, one season, one feeling tonight. As those colors fade into dark, the memories they carry are softening with them, becoming easier gently to set down. Fact 8. Color judgments happen faster than conscious thought. Research published in the journal Management Decision found that up to 90% of SNAP assessment soft environments are based on color alone, made within 62 to 90 seconds of first exposure. Your nervous system is a constant, rapid, unconscious reader of your color environment. It assesses safety, energy, and comfort through the palette of the space you are in before your conscious mind has formed a single thought. This is why certain rooms make you tense without reason, why certain spaces make you exhale before you know why. The color got there first. Right now, the dim, familiar dark around, you arrived at your nervous system before you thought anything. And what it said was simply, "Did is known. This is safe. This is where you rest." Fact 9. The human visible spectrum is a vanishingly narrow band of electromagnetic reality, below 380 nanometers, ultraviolet, invisible to you, visible to bees, above 700 nanometers, infrared, sensed by some animals as heat, not as light. Researcher Tom Baden at the University of Sussex studied color vision across species. Nathaniel Dominy at Dartmouth College proposed that human trichromatic vision evolved in forest environments. tuned to distinguish ripe fruit, to read social information in skin tone, and to monitor shifting skylight for time of day. Your eyes are an evolutionary instrument, and one of the questions they have been answering all evening as light slowly faded around you is it night yet? The answer, sent inward through every dimming hour, yes, rest is warranted. The day is done. Fact 10, no two people see color in exactly the same way. In 2015, a photograph of a dress divided the world. Some saw it as black and gold, others as blue and white from the identical image. Neuroscientist Carl Geeken-Fortner at Justus Liebig University Gießen studied this extensively. His research showed that individual differences in assumptions about ambient lighting, built from a lifetime of visual experience, produced entirely different color perceptions from the same retinal data. Your brain uses the colors it expects, based on the life you have lived, to construct the colors it sees. The specific quality of calm that a particular blue carries for you belongs to you alone. No one has ever had your exact experience of color. And right now, your visual world is becoming the soft, unheld dark of a mind preparing for sleep. Fact 11. Color activates your autonomic nervous system, the system governing heart rate, breathing, and blood pressure without your awareness. Researcher Harry Wohlfarth at the University of Alberta conducted studies demonstrating measurable changes in blood pressure and respiration in response to color environment alone. Red and orange spaces, elevated blood pressure, faster breathing, blue and green spaces, lower pressure, slower and deeper breath. Your body is in constant, involuntary dialogue with the colors around it. It has been happening to you in every room you have ever entered. Right now, the soft dark of your spaces having its own quiet conversation with your body, and your body is answering in the language of slowing down. Fact 12. Deep in the brain sits a small structure called the hypothalamus, roughly the size of an almond, that directly regulates body temperature, hunger, circadian rhythm, and hormone release. Research reviewed at the Max Planck Institute for Biological Cybernetics has shown that color stimulation affects hypothalamic activity. When light dims and color fades, the hypothalamus initiates a cascade, lowering core body temperature, adjusting hormone levels, shifting the breath. What you are experiencing right now in the darkest, not simply the absence of light. It is an active physiological preparation, orchestrated in part by the color signals your brain is no longer receiving. Fact 13. Color influences the production of serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter closely associated with mood stability and the regulation of the sleep-wake cycle. Research published in Frontiers in Human Neurosciences shown that bright, full-spectrum light, rich in blue and green wavelengths, stimulates serotonin synthesis in the brain. Researcher Norman Rosenthal at the National Institute of Mental Health demonstrated that the reduction of color-rich daylight in winter months directly contributes to seasonal affective disorder. As the color-rich light of day faded to night, your serotonin production began to taper. This is not a loss. Serotonin converts to melatonin in the darkness. Melatonin is the key that opens the door to sleep. Your brain has been building that key all evening, and it is nearly ready. Fact 14. Blue light specifically suppresses melatonin production. The cells responsible are not your cone cells. They are a separate class of retinal cells, intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, identified by researcher Samer Hattar at Johns Hopkins University in 2002. These cells are maximally sensitive to blue light at approximately 480 nanometers, close to the wavelength of a smartphone screener, a cool LED light. When they detect that wavelength, they signal the brain's master circadian clock to suppress melatonin and remain alert. This system evolved to track the blue of midday sky. It was never designed for the blue of a screen at night. If you have been away from blue-rich light this evening, your melatonin has been rising. Its quiet tide is moving through your bloodstream now. Warm, slow, irresistible, pulling you gently toward the shore of sleep. Fact 15. Color changes your perception of temperature independently of actual room temperature. Studies by researcher Rikard Kullerat, the Swedish Institute for Building Research demonstrated that people in red rooms consistently report feeling warmer than those in blue rooms, even when both rooms are kept at identical temperatures. The difference in perceived warmth between identically heated red and blue rooms was as much as 3 to 4 degrees Celsius. This is not imagination. Brain imaging confirms that color-related temperature perception activates the same cortical regions actual physical temperature change. Your nervous system uses color as a proxy for thermal information. The cool dark of your room right now was part of your body's preparation for sleep. Core body temperature naturally drops on to 2 degrees in the first hours of rest. The color of the dark is part of that architecture. Fact 16. Green is the color the human eye is most sensitive to the physiological level. The eye's medium wavelength cones, the green sensitive ones, outperform both red and blue detection at peak sensitivity. Researcher Francis Kuo at the University of Illinois conducted meta-analyses showing that green environments consistently associated with reduced stress, lower cortisol levels, and faster recovery from mental fatigue. In a study published in the journal Science, hospital patients with windows facing green spaces required less pain medication and recovered faster than those facing brick walls. The color of nature, the color of safety, the color your eye was most precisely built to read. Even now, in its absence, the memory of green can soften something in you. A field, a tree, a leaf held up to afternoon light. Let that image rest gently somewhere in your mind. Fact 17. Color affects your perception of time. Studies by researcher Mark Wittmann, the Institute for Frontier Areas of Psychology in Freiburg, Germany, found that people in red-lit spaces consistently overestimate how long they have been waiting. In blue-lit spaces, the same duration feels shorter. The mechanism involves arousal. Red increases alertness, making time feel drawn out. Blue reduces arousal, allowing time to move more fluidly through awareness. Right now, in the dim dark of your room, team is doing something particular. It is softening the sharp urgency of daylight hours, the deadlines, the schedules, the measured minutes. is loosening its grip. You are entering a different relationship with time. One where it doesn't press against you. One where it simply flows, slow and wide, and carries you gently forward into the night. Fact 18. Color influences pain perception. Research published in the European Journal of Pain, including work by researcher Laura Cassiet, the University of California, San Diego, demonstrated that exposure to cool-colored environments, particularly blues and greens, is associated with a measurable reduction in pain sensitivity. Warm colors, particularly reds, are associated with heightened pain sensitivity. The mechanisms involve the autonomic nervous system and the release of endorphins, the brain's natural pain-modulating chemicals, which appear to be differentially activated by color context. Whatever you have been carrying in your body today, whatever tension, tightness, or low-level ache, the cool dark around you is already working on it, quietly, without effort on your part. This is not a metaphor. It is a measurable physiological shift, and it is happening to you right now. Fact 19. Color affects your perception of weight. Researcher Karl Gegenfortner at Justus Liebig University Gießen studied how color influences the brain's estimation of physical heaviness objects in dark. Saturated colors are consistently judged as heavier than identical objects in pale, desaturated colors, even when held in the hand. Warehouse workers, in studies conducted across industrial settings in the mid-20th century, reported less physical fatigue when heavy boxes were repainted in lighter colors. The weight had not changed. The brain's interpretation of it had. Your body is not a neutral recorder of reality. It is a constant interpreter, and color is one of the primary languages it uses to interpret the world. Right now, your body may feel heavier than usual. That is not exhaustion. That is not failure. That is the particular weight of a body that has been interpreting the world all day and is finally, gratefully, being allowed to stop. Fact 20. Color influences how loud a room feels. Research by acoustics psychologist Hartmut Traun-Mullerath, Stockholm University, found that people consistently rate identical sounds as louder in red environments and quieter in blue and green environments. The mechanism is again arousal. Higher arousal states, produced by warm colors, amplify sensory input across multiple channels. Lower arousal states, produced by cool, dark colors, compress sensory sensitivity inward. The quiet of your room right now was not only acoustically real. Your nervous system, settling into low-color dark, is also becoming less sensitive to sound. The world is genuinely getting quieter for you in this moment, in more ways than one. Fact 21. Color affects how much you trust other people. A series of studies by researcher Adam Pazdat, the University of Rochester, explored how color context influences social perception. Exposure to red in social environments was associated with heightened competitive awareness and faster detection of potential threat in faces. Blue environments, by contrast, were associated with increased cooperative behavior, greater willingness to share information, and higher reported feelings of social safety. Your nervous system is not only reading the world through color, it is reading other people through it too. In the soft dark of tonight, there is no face to read for threat, no social calculation required, just you and the quiet and the permission to need nothing from anyone for a few hours. Fact 22. The color white has been found to increase feelings of mental clarity, but also, in excess, feelings of emptiness and emotional exposure. Research by environmental psychologist Frank Monca, whose work is collected in the book Color, Environment, and Human Response, documented that all white environments, while appearing clean and open, frequently caused subjects to report increased anxiety and a sense of being watched or evaluated. Warmth requires color. Safety requires softness. The stark bright white of the day's screens and surfaces carries a low-level demand, a demand for clarity, for performance, for visibility. You have been visible all day, performing in the white and bright of a world that wanted things from you. Tonight, the dark gives you back your invisibility. No one needs anything from you in the dark. You are allowed here to be unseen. Fact 23. Purple and violet tones are consistently associated with introspection and psychological depth. Researcher Domichele Jonowski's cross-cultural work, published in Psychological Science, found that across many of the 64 countries studied, purple was uniquely linked to feelings of turning inward, to the experience of looking at one's own thoughts from a slight distance. This is not accidental. Purple sits at the very edge of the visible spectrum, the border between what the eye can see and what it cannot. It is a liminal color, a threshold color. You are at a threshold right now, not quite awake, not yet asleep, somewhere at the edge of what the mind can see. That is exactly where you are supposed to be. Fact 24. Color influences the consolidation of emotional memory. Research by neuroscientist James McGoggett, the University of California, Irvine demonstrated that emotionally arousing experiences are encoded more strongly in long-term memory, and color, by modulating arousal through the autonomic nervous system, plays a quiet role in how vividly memories are stored. The colors present during an emotional experience, the yellow of a specific kitchen, the gray of a particular morning, become threaded into the memory itself. They become part of the emotional texture of the past. This is why certain colors feel like time travel, not because they are magical, because they are neurologically linked to the emotional state in which a memory was formed. Tonight, as the colors fade, the emotional charge of the day is fading with them. The brain is beginning its work of filing, processing, softening what happened. You do not need to help it. It knows exactly what to do. Fact 25. Color affects how deeply you breathe. Research by psychologist Thalma Lobalat, Tel Aviv University, collected in her book Sensation, documented that color environments produce immeasurable changes in respiratory rate and depth. Cool blue environments were consistently associated with slower, deeper breathing, the breathing pattern associated with rest, calm, and parasympathetic nervous system dominance. Warm red environments produced faster, shallower breaths, the pattern associated with readiness and alertness. Your breath right now is already doing something. It is slowing, deepening. Not because you are forcing it, because the environment around you The cool, dim, quiet dark is speaking to your nervous system in the language it was built to understand. Let your body respond. It already knows what to do. Let's pause here for a moment. Notice your body right now. Notice the weight of it, settled into the surface beneath you. Notice your breath, slower now than when you began. Notice the sounds of the room around you, softer than they were. You don't need to evaluate any of this. You don't need to decide whether you are relaxed enough. Your body is doing exactly what it was designed to do. And now we continue. Fact 26. The brain processes color through two distinct systems, one for identifying what a color is and one for locating where it is. Neuroscientist Leslie Ungerleider at the National Institute of Mental Health distinguished these pathways: the ventral stream, the what pathway, and the dorsal stream, the where pathway. Color information feeds primarily into the ventral stream, linking color to object recognition, emotion, and memory. This is why color is so intimately bound to how you feel about a place, not just what you see in it. The room you are in right now was not just a location. Your brain is reading it as a whole emotional object. Its color, its light, its texture, and building a feeling from that reading. The feeling it is building tonight is known, safe, belonging. Fact 27. Exposure to blue light in the evening has an alerting effect equivalent to a 0. ZO5 blood alcohol level in terms Sovit's disruption to melatonin timing. Research from the Division of Sleep Medicine at Harvard Medical School, including work by researcher Charles Keisler, established that even moderate blue light exposure in the 2 hours before sleep significantly delays melatonin onset and reduces total sleep's duration. 0.05 is the threshold in many countries for impaired driving. That is the scale of the disruption a lit screen in the evening creates in your sleep chemistry. If you have dimmed your environment tonight, you have already done something powerful, something measurable, something real. Your melatonin is moving, your chemistry is shifting, and the body is preparing for what it needs most. Fact 28. Color influences how quickly the body recovers from stress. Researcher Roger Ulrich at Texas A&M University, whose work on healing environments is among the most cited in environmental psychology, demonstrated that exposure to natural greens and blues following a stressful experience accelerated the return of blood pressure, heart rate, and muscle tension to baseline compared to exposure to urban or red-toned environments. Recovery was not just faster, it was measurably deeper, achieving lower baseline readings than those who recovered in neutral or warm-colored spaces. Your body has been in a state of low-level stress today. Most bodies are the ordinary demands of wakefulness, attention, decision, social navigation, carry a physiological cost. The color environment you are in right now was helping your body settle below that cost. Back to baseline, back to quiet. Fact 29. The color orange has been found to stimulate social bonding and the feeling of belonging. Research in social environmental psychology, including studies reviewed by researcher Paul Valdez at the University of Lowell, found that warm orange environments increased reported feelings of friendliness, connection and being welcomed. This is why many restaurants and social spaces warm amber and orange lighting, not for aesthetic reasons alone, but because the color produces a neurological softening of social guardedness. The warm amber of a lamp switching off at night, the orange glow of the last light before dark, these carry a gentle signal of social completion. The day's connections are done. The belonging was real. You can rest now. In the warmth of that, fact 30, pink light has been used in clinical settings to reduce aggression. In the 1970s, researcher Alexander Shawsat, the American Institute for Biosocial Research, documented that a specific shade of pink, later named Baker-Miller pink, produced measurable reductions in muscle-strengthened aggressive behavior in prison populations. Subsequent research has been mixed on the specifics, but the broader finding that certain warm, desaturated colors reduce physiological arousal and aggressive ideation has been replicated. The body responds to softness, to desaturation, to warmth without intensity. If the voice of your own mind has been loud tonight, critical, circling, insistent, know that this is what arousal does. It amplifies the inner voice. As your arousal level drops, that voice will drop with it. It is already quieting, not because you silenced it, because the color of the dark is doing it for you. Fact 31. Color affects how the brain allocates attention. Research by psychologist Ravi Mehtat, the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, published in the journal Science, found that red environments enhance performance and detail-focused, vigilance-based tasks, while blue environments enhance creative, associative, and wide-field thinking. Red narrows attention. Blue widens it. Right now, your attention does not need to be narrow. It does not need to find anything, fix anything, or hold on to anything. It is allowed to be wide and soft, drifting outward like the edge of a breath, like the last color of a sky before night. Let your attention do that now. Wide, soft, unanchored. Fact 32. Color has measurable effects on appetite and digestion. Research in food psychology, including Workbee researcher Brian Wansink at Cornell University, established that people eat significantly less in blue-lit environments than in red or yellow ones. Blue suppresses appetite, possibly because there are very few blue foods in nature, making blue an evolutionarily unusual signal in the context of eating. Yellow and red increase appetite and eating speed, which is why the majority of fast food chains use exactly those two colors. Tonight, your digestive system is already beginning to slow. The body in sleep preparation directs blood flow away from the gut, from the muscles, from the surface of the skin, inward, toward the core, toward maintenance, toward repair. The cool dark is part of that redirection. Your body is already turning its resource toward the work of restoration. Fact 33. Yellow is the first color the human eye detects in low contrast conditions. Research in visual perception has shown that the eye's contrast sensitivity is highest for yellow-green wavelengths, roughly 555 nanometers, making yellow the most visible color against complex backgrounds. This is why taxis, school buses, and hazard signs use yellow. It is the color of noticeability, the color that says, "Here, pay attention. Yellow activates attention before the conscious mind decides to attend. As the yellow of the day, the screens, the lights, the sharp edges of things requiring your notice, has faded from your environment tonight, your attention system has grown quieter. There is nothing here that needs to be noticed, nothing here that requires your eye to catch it. You can let the high alert of yellow go. There is only soft dark now, and soft dark asks nothing. Fact 34. Gray environments affect motivation and initiative. Studies by researcher Catherine Hamnetat, the London College of Fashion and Broader Environmental Psychology Research found that prolonged exposure to gray, low saturation environments reduces reported motivation, creative engagement, and sense of personal agency. This is not weakness. This is the body and mind responding to color signals, or the absence of them, with biological accuracy. Color is information. Gray is reduced information, and a brain receiving reduced information produces reduced drive. But here, tonight, reduced drive is the goal. The brain has been running high all day. The flattening of color, the reduction of signal, the gray dark of your room right now. This is not a deprivation, this is a gift. The permission to not be driven, to not need to respond, to simply be. Fact 35. The brain's response to color begins in the womb. Research by developmental biologist Alistair Bott at Cambridge University has shown that photoreceptor cells in the retina begin developing and differentiating before birth. By the third trimester, the fetal visual system is already responding to light filtered through the uterine wall, primarily in the red-orange range, as those longer wavelengths penetrate tissue more easily. The very first color experience in a human life, warm, diffuse, red-orange light, the color of inside, of warmth, of safety, of being held. That is the first color. That is what the nervous system learned. First, our warmth is red. Safety is warm. Inside is home. Tonight, in the soft dim of your room, something in your oldest neurology recognizes this. The warmth of your blanket, the contained quiet of your space. Something in you has always known how to be at rest in warmth and dark. Fact 36. Blue bedroom walls are associated with the longest and most restful sleep durations. A study conducted by Travelodge in the United Kingdom, surveying over 200 households, found that people sleeping in blue rooms averaged 7 hours and 52 minutes of sleep per night, the highest of any wall color. Red rooms produced the shortest sleep, averaging under 7 hours. Environmental psychologists attributed the differencito, the autonomic effects of cool colors, lower heart rate, lower blood pressure, reduced cortisol, all of which shortened the time needed to transition from wakefulness to sleep onset. The color of the space where you sleep is not a decorative choice. It is a physiological one. And the cool dark of tonight is already doing the work of blue, quieting the body, slowing the system, opening the door to rest. Fact 37. Exposure to natural light spectrum during the day directly improves sleep quality at night. Research by psychiatrist Phyllis Zeet, Northwestern University, demonstrated that office workers with windows, and therefore exposure to full-spectrum daylight, slept an average of 46 minutes more per night than those without window access. They also reported significantly higher quality of life scores, better mood, and higher physical activity levels. The colors of daylight, the full spectrum, shifting from the blue dominant light of morning to the warm amber of late afternoon, are not just pleasant, they are the primary input signal for your circadian clock. The light you receive during the day determines the quality of the dark. Tonight, your body has been tracking color all day without your awareness, building tonight's rest from the spectrum of every hour that passed. Fact 38: darkness is not the absence of color. It is a color experience of its own. Neuroscientist Paul Bocchi-Rita at the University of Wisconsin-Madison studied how the brain responds to the complete absence of visual input. In total darkness, the visual cortex does not go quiet. It becomes active in different ways, processing internally generated imagery, responding to tactile and emotional signals, entering the semi-visual state that precedes and accompanies sleep. The dark you are in right now was not nothing. It is a texture, a presence. Your brain is reading it, finding it familiar, finding it safe, finding it associated with every night of rest you have ever had. The dark has a color. It is the color of rest, and your brain has always known it. Fact 39: light intensity, independent of color, affects the production of cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. Research by endocrinologist Josephine Arentat, the University of Surrey, demonstrated that bright light suppresses cortisol decline in the evening, delaying the natural drop that should occur as the day winds down. Dim light and darkness allow cortisol to follow its natural trajectory, falling through the evening hours, reaching its lowest point in the first half of the night, then rising again slowly through early morning to prepare the body for waking. If you are in a dim or dark space tonight, your cortisol is falling right now. As you breathe, the stress chemistry of the day is draining quietly out of your bloodstream. This is not a metaphor. It is a measurable physiological shift. It is happening to you right now. Fact 40: the color of light in the hour before sleep predicts how quickly you fall asleep. Research from the lighting. Research Center at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute found that the color temperature of ambient lighting the 60 minutes before bedtime was one of the strongest predictors of sleep onset latency, the time it takes from lying down to falling asleep. Cool, blue dominant light above 5,000 Kelvin, significantly delayed sleep onset. Warm, amber dominant light below 3,000 Kelvin significantly shortened it. Every degree of warmth in the light around you tonight is a degree of ease in your descent towards sleep. The chemistry is already in motion. The body is already listening. You are already closer to sleep than you were when you first pressed play. Fact 41: sleep deprivation changes how you perceive color. Research published in the Journal of Vision, including work by researcher Sean Drummond at the University of California, San Diego, found that sleep-deprived subjects showed reduced sensitivity to contrast in the blue-yellow color channel, one of the brain's primary color processing axes. The visual system, like every other system, requires sleep to maintain its precision. This is not a flaw. This is not weakness. This is the body using every available signal, including diminished color processing, to communicate a need. The need for exactly what you are doing right now. Ret, dark, quiet, time. Fact 42. The color red increases the speed of heartbeat within seconds of exposure. Research by neuroscientist Anjan Chatterjee at the University of Pennsylvania, studying the neurological basis of aesthetic response, found that red activates the same neural pathways associated with urgency, competition, and approach motivation, the drive to move toward or engage with something. This response is automatic. You cannot choose not to have it. The wavelength enters the eye, the signal reaches the amygdala, and the heart responds, faster, stronger, more alert. Within moments, the absence of red, tinnitus, the presence of its opposite. Your heart rate is following the color of the space you are in. It is slowing down, becoming quieter, finding the pace that belongs to rest. Fact 43. Darkness increases the brain's production of gamma-aminobutyric acid, GABA, the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter of the central nervous system. Research from the Sleep Research Centre, the University of Surrey, including Workbee researcher Dirk-Jan Dijk, has established that the transition to darkness in the environment is associated with increased GABAergic activity, the neurochemical braking system that slows neural firing across the brain. GABA is essentially the brain's quiet signal. It reduces the rate of neural activity, lowers the volume of thought, and creates the neurological substrate for sleep to begin. Right now, in the dark, your GABA levels are rising. Your brain is literally turning down its own volume. Not because you are forcing it to be quiet, because the dark is doing it for you. Fact 44. Warm-colored light increases the perceived size of a space. Environmental design research at the Polytechnic University of Hong Kong found that rooms lit with warm amber tones were rated as significantly more spacious and comfortable than identical rooms under cool white light. Perceived spaciousness reduces claustrophobic arousal and lowers reported anxiety. The space you are in right now, however small, is held in the warm dark of its own quiet, and that dark makes it feel generous. It makes it feel like enough. There is a particular comfort in a small, dark, warm space. Something ancient recognizes it. Something in you has always known how to be held by the dark. Fact 45. Color influences the immune system. Research by psychoneuroimmunologist Janice Kiecolt-Glaser at Ohio State University explored how psychological states, including those produced by environment and color, affect immune function. Chronic stress, signaled in part through high arousal color environments, is associated with elevated inflammatory markers and reduced immune cell activity. RET, recovery, low arousal environments, including the dim dark of nighttime, are associated with restored immune function, reduced systemic inflammation. Your body is not only resting tonight, it is repairing. Immune cells are moving more freely through your bloodstream in the quiet dark. The inflammation of the day is beginning to ease. RET is not passive. RET is the body's most active form of maintenance, and it begins with exactly this: the color of darkness, and the permission to be still inside it. Fact 46. The perception of color is influenced by the language you speak. Research by linguist Paul Kay at UC Berkeley and psychologist Terry Regier at the University of Chicago found that languages with more precise color terms produce faster and more accurate color discrimination in speakers. Russian speakers, for example, have separate words for light blue and dark blue, goluboy and siny, and demonstrate measurably faster discrimination between those shadows than English speakers do. Language shapes perception. The words you have for things shape how finely you can feel them. And yet, beneath language, beneath the words any human has ever had for color, the body still responds, the heart still slows to blue, the breath still deepens in the dark. The nervous system speaks a color language older than any word. You share that language with every human who has ever lived. And right now, it is telling you the same thing has always told you at this hour. It is time. Let go. Rest. Fact 47. The color black has been found to increase the perception of luxury and authority, but also in excess to increase feelings of constraint. Research in consumer psychology, including studies by researcher Jennifer Akarat, Stanford Graduate School of Business, found that black activates associations with power, finality, and structure. In therapeutic color research, however, prolonged exposure to black without warmth was associated with increased feelings of psychological enclosure and self-judgment. The dark of tonight is not that black. It is a dark made soft by familiarity, made safe by everything you have already lived through. This dark is not constraint. It is container. It holds you rather than trapping you. There is a difference between the black that presses in and the dark that holds. Tonight, the dark holds. Fact 48. Light and color affect the default mode network, the neural network active during rest, daydreaming, and self-referential thought. Research by neuroscientist Marcus Reichelt, Washington University in St. Louis, who first mapped the default mode network, found that this system becomes more active as external sensory stimulation decreases, as the visual environment quiets. As color and light reduce, the brain's inward-looking network increases its activity. This is why the thoughts come more freely as the room gets darker, why the mind begins to drift toward memory, imagination, and the soft narrative of the self in the quiet before sleep. This is not restlessness. This is the default mode network doing exactly what it was designed for, processing the self, integrating the day, preparing the mind for the consolidation work of sleep. You are not failing to quiet your mind. Your mind is doing something purposeful, and gradually, as you rest, that purposefulness will soften into drift, into something looser, into something that belongs eventually to sleep. Fact 49. Pink light at low intensity has been shown to reduce circadian disruption more than white light at equivalent intensity. Research from the Lighting Research Center found that narrow-band pink light in the warm 600 nanometer range produced significantly less melatonin. Suppression than broad-spectrum white light, while providing enough illumination to navigate safely in the dark. This has practical applications in hospital night care and neonatal units. But it also reflects something the human body already responds to intuitively: the warm glow of a lamp at its lowest setting, the amber of a candle, the particular pinkish dark of a room lit only by the fading sky. These colors carry a biological message. The day is ending. Gently, warmly. You are safe in this transition. Fact 50. Every color response in your body tonight, every slowing heartbeat, every quieting breath, every degree of muscle that has softened is the result of a system that has been operating continuously without your instruction for your entire life. You did not learn to respond to color. You were born with the architecture for it, refined over millions of years, encoded in the specific wiring of your visual cortex, your amygdala, your hypothalamus, your autonomic nervous system. Research by evolutionary biologist Mark Changizi at 2AI Labs demonstrated that human color vision is specifically tuned to read the emotional and physiological states of other humans through subtle shifts in skin tone, a system of social color reading that operates constantly and unconsciously. You are a creature built for color, built to be changed by it, built to find rest in its fading. And tonight, in the quiet dark, every color system in your body is reading the same signal your ancestors read in every night for 10,000 years before electricity existed. The dark is here, the day is done, the body knows what to do next. So far tonight, the science has been building toward one quiet, remarkable truth. Color is not decoration, it is chemistry, it is neurology. It is the language your oldest systems use to understand the world and navigate it safely. What the research has made clear is that your responses to color, the tension that lives in bright red spaces, the softening that comes in cool blue ones, the particular peace of dim familiar dark, are not preferences, they are not imagination, they are biological facts about who you are and how you were built. And in this moment, right now, your body is translating the darkness around you into chemistry, into lower cortisol, into rising melatonin, into quieter neural firing, into the particular physical signature of a body preparing to sleep. You don't have to make any of that happen. It is already happening. You only have to stay here, in the dark, in the quiet, in the color of rest. Some things that happen to us feel like they belong only to this moment, this specific night, this particular dark, this breath, this weight of blanket. And then morning comes and carries them somewhere soft and far away where they become simply part of what we carry, part of the texture of a life lived in color. Right now, tonight is becoming a memory. What you carry forward from it is still being decided. Your brain is writing a version of this night that will belong only to you. And we continue the journey. Fact 51. Color is one of the oldest forms of human communication. Archaeological evidence from Blombos Cave in South Africa, studied by researcher Francesco Dericote, the University of Bordeaux, reveals that early humans were deliberately processing red ochre, a deep iron oxide pigment. Approximately 100,000 years ago, they were not painting pictures. They were using color intentionally, marking things, marking people, using hue to carry meaning before any written language existed. Color was the first language of significance, and your nervous system still speaks it. Fluently, automatically, without translation. Fact 52. Ancient Egyptian physicians prescribed specific colors for healing. Research by historian of medicine John Nunn documented in his work, Ancient Egyptian Medicine, described color chambers, rooms painted in specific hues, used for the treatment of ailments from anxiety to pain. Blue rooms were prescribed for calming. Red rooms, paradoxically, for stimulating recovery from fatigue and lethargy. Green rooms for wounds and healing. The Egyptians called it chromotherapy more than 3,000 years before the term was ever coined in Western medicine. They observed what the body responded to. They built rooms accordingly, and the science of the last century has confirmed most of what they intuitively knew. Fact 53. Across cultures and across centuries, blue is the world's most universally preferred color. A survey conducted by YouGov across countries, including the United States, Germany, Australia, and Indonesia, found blue consistently ranked as the favorite color by between 23 and 33% of respondents, making it the most globally preferred hue by a significant margin. Researcher Karen Haller, a British applied color psychologist whose work spans clinical and environmental color use, suggests this preference may relate to blue's consistent evolutionary association with safety, clean water, open sky, the absence of ground-level threat. Blue says, "There is space here. There is distance between you and what frightens you. You can breathe widely. That is the color your body leans toward instinctively. And the dark around you right now, in its cool stillness, carries the same message." Fact 54. In cultures across Asia, white is the traditional color of mourning, not black. Researcher Annie Verishin, in her ethnographic study colors, What They Mean and How to Make Them, documented how color symbolism for grief, celebration, and spiritual meaning varies widely across cultures. In China, Japan, and Korea, white represents purity, transition, and the passage from one state to another. In many West African traditions, white is worn at funerals as a color of honor, celebrating a life rather than mourning its end. What this reveals is important. The emotional meaning of color is partly universal and partly learned. The physiological response, the heart rate, the cortisol, the melatonin, is universal. The symbolic layer is cultural. You carry both tonight, the ancient body beneath you, responding to wavelengths, and the particular human being above that body, shaped by everything you were taught about what colors mean. Both of those things are real. Both of them are you. Fact 55. The color green appears more frequently in the natural world than any other. Chlorophyll, the pigment responsible for photosynthesis, absorbs red and blue light and reflects green. This is why almost all photosynthesizing life on Earth appears green to the human eye. Researcher Ching Li at Nippon Medical School in Tokyo, whose work on forest bathing, Shinrin-yoku, is among the most cited in environmental medicine, found that spending time in green natural environments reduces cortisol levels by an average of 12 to 16%, lowers blood pressure, and increases natural killer cell activity in the immune system. The effects persist for up to 30 days after a single exposure to green natural environment. Your nervous system evolved inside green. For millions of years, the dominant color of your ancestors' world was this one, the shifting, layered, living green of forest and field. That green is in your blood, in a sense. It is what calm looks like to your oldest self, Fact 56. The color red was the first color given a naming almost every human language. Linguists Brent Berlin and Paul Kay, in their landmark 1969 study Basic Color Terms, analyzed color naming patterns across 98 languages and found a universal evolutionary sequence. Black and white come first, red comes second. In almost every language ever studied, red was named first because it mattered most: fire, blood, danger, life. The high-stakes colors always get named first. This tells you something about the particular pull red has on attention, the way it interrupts, insists, demands. It has always demanded, but you are in the dark tonight. There is no red here. There is no demand here. The most ancient attention grabber in the human color system has gone quiet for the night, and in its absence, the rest of your senses are doing something softer, turning inward, turning toward rest. Fact 57. The Japanese concept of ma describes the meaningful emptiness between things, the space, the pause, the absence of color that gives the present colors their weight. Architect and researcher Fumihiko Makihas, written extensively on mass, an organizing principle of Japanese aesthetics. The idea that the empty space in a room, the silence between sounds, the dark between lights, carries as much meaning as what fills it. The dark you are in right now was not the absence of your day. It is the space that gives your day meaning, the rest that follows effort, the quiet that follows sound, the dark that follows light. Without the dark, the color of the day would have no shape, no edge, no resonance. The dark is not nothing. The dark is what makes everything else visible. Fact 58. Color therapy has been used in psychiatric and neurological settings since the early 20th century. Researcher Dinsha Gadiali, working in the United States in the 1920s, developed a system called spectrochrome, a formalized approach to using colored light for therapeutic purposes. While many of his specific claims were not supported by later research, the systematic inquiry he initiated contributed to modern light therapy protocols. Contemporary applications include blue light therapy for circadian rhythm disorders, studied extensively by researcher Anna Wirtz-Justice at the Psychiatric Hospital of the University of Basel, and red light therapy for inflammation, examined in trials at the University of Sydney. Color medicine is not folk belief. It is an evolving clinical science, one that confirms what ancient healers observed. Light and color speak directly to the body, and the body listens. Fact 59. The color of food affects how it tastes. Research by experimental psychologist Charles Spenceat, the University of Oxford, demonstrated that the color of a drink or food significantly alters the flavor experience, independently of any actual change in flavor. Orange-colored drinks were rated as tasting more orange-flavored than identically flavored clear drinks. Pink strawberry mousse served on white plates was rated sweeter than the same mousse on black plates. Color is so deeply integrated with sensory experience that it can override the chemical input of the taste receptors themselves. Your senses do not operate in separate channels. They operate as an integrated, color-informed whole. Each sense drawing meaning partly from the color context of experience. Tonight, as that color context has quieted, all of your senses are operating in a lower register, less sharp, less separate, beginning to dissolve into the single, unified experience of rest. Fact 60. The northern lights, the aurora borealis, have been described as spiritually significant by indigenous cultures across the Arctic for thousands of years. The Sami people of Scandinavia called them Guav Sahasat, the light you can hear. The Inuit of Alaska interpreted Themas, the spirits of the dead playing games in the sky. Researcher Krupnik Igor at the Smithsonian Institution, studying indigenous ecological knowledge, documented how color phenomena in the natural sky, auroras, sunsets, the blue of twilight, have consistently, across unconnected cultures, been interpreted as thresholds, as the boundary between the visible world and what lies beyond it. Color, at its edges, has always felt like the edge of something larger. The particular dark you are in right now is its own kind of aurora. The soft phosphenes that appear at the edge of vision when you close your eyes in a dark room, those quiet inner lights, the color that exists inside you, independent of the world. Fact 61. Clinical research on color and anxiety has produced consistent, replicable results. A study published in the journal Sage Open Medicine, conducted at a hospital in Lahore, Pakistan, examined the effect of chromotherapy, exposure to colored light, on anxiety levels in preoperative patients. After 16 weeks of blue light chromotherapy sessions, patients reported a 25% reduction in self-reported anxiety scores. Heart rate variability, a physiological marker of nervous system balance, improved significantly. This was not suggestion, not placebo. The nervous system was measurably responding to color information in the clinical setting. If you have anxiety, the kind that follows you into the dark, the kind that sits with you in the quiet, know that your nervous system is capable of this response. It is not broken, it is listening. And tonight, it is receiving the right signal. Fact 62. Green light has been found to reduce migraine pain intensity. Research by neurologist Rami Bursteinat, Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center and Harvard Medical School found that while most wavelengths of light worsen the pain and sensitivity of migraine, narrow band green light, around 520 nanometers, significantly reduced migraine intensity in a majority of patients studied. The mechanism involves the relative sparseness of green-sensitive pathways in the pain-amplifying circuits of the trigeminal nerve, meaning green light produces less excitation in the very pathways that generate migraine pain. The eye was built for green, and green, in return, is one of the few colors that is genuinely gentle to the nervous system in its most vulnerable states. If you carry any kind of chronic pain tonight, physical or otherwise, let the thought of green rest quietly somewhere in the soft space behind your closed eyes. Not forced, just present, a field of it, wide and still. Fact 63. Yellow-green environments have been found to improve sustained concentration and accuracy in research task settings. Studies by researcher Frank Monca, collected in his environmental psychology research, found that workspaces incorporating yellow-green, specifically in the 550 nanometer range, produced measurable improvements in task accuracy over sessions lasting several hours. This was attributed to the eye's peak sensitivity in that wavelength range, requiring less visual effort to process, and therefore leaving more cognitive resources available for the task itself. Your brain is always conserving, always making decisions about where to spend its energy. Tonight, there is no task. There is nothing that requires your accuracy. Your visual system is receiving almost nothing, and in that near nothing, it is releasing the effort of the day. The constant, low-level work of seeing is finally being allowed to rest. Fact 64. Red-painted walls in gyms increase physical performance metrics. Research by Andrew Elliott and colleagues, the University of Rochester, found that athletes performed measurably better, running faster, lifting heavier, enduring longer, in red-dominant environments compared to neutral or blue ones. Red activates the approach motivation system, the neural circuitry that drives toward goals, that increases effort, that pushes through discomfort. That system has been running in you all day, perhaps for many days. It is an extraordinary system. It is what gets things done. But it was not designed to run without rest. Tonight, the red is gone. The approach motivation system is receiving no activation signal. It is being allowed, finally, to stand down, not defeated, not diminished, simply resting so that tomorrow it can be everything it was built to be. Fact 65. Color affects spatial memory. Research by neuroscientist Lynn Nadalat, the University of Arizona, whose work on hippocampal function and memory spans 4 decades, found that color is one of the strongest contextual cues used by the hippocampus to encode and retrieve spatial memories. The color of a room becomes part of the memory of everything that happened in it. This is why childhood memories often carry such specific color information. The yellow of a certain kitchen, the green of a particular bedroom wall. The hippocampus stores color as context. Color is how the brain organizes where it has been. Right now, your hippocampus is registering the particular color of tonight, the soft dark, the familiar dim, the specific quiet. It is filing this moment, this rest, this breath. And one day, in some unknown future moment, some quality of low, quiet dark will carry you back here, to this particular feeling of safe, still rest. Your brain is making that memory right now. Fact 66. Therapeutic use of blue light has shown measurable antidepressant effects. Researcher Michael Terman at Columbia University Medical Center conducted clinical trials using blue-enriched bright light therapy for major depressive disorder, including non-seasonal depression, which is far more common than seasonal affective disorder. Patients receiving morning bright light therapy showed improvements in depressive symptoms comparable to those receiving antidepressant medication, with effects visible within 2 to 4 weeks. The mechanism involves serotonin synthesis, circadian rhythm normalization, and the regulation of the HPA axis, the hormonal pathway governing stress responses. Color-based light is not a metaphor for healing. It is a mechanism for it. If you have been carrying something heavy, something in the range of sadness or gray exhaustion, know that the color of morning light is one of the most powerful interventions available to you, and that the dark tonight is the preparation for it. The dark clears the space for the light to work. Fact 67. The Lucier color test, developed by Swiss psychologist Max Lucier in 1947, proposed that color preferences reveal underlying psychological states. Used in clinical settings across Europe for several decades, the test asks subjects to rank colors by preference and interprets the ordering as a reflection of current psychological needs and tensions. While its diagnostic validity has been debated in peer-reviewed literature, its core observation that color preference shifts with emotional state has been supported by more rigorous subsequent research. When you are anxious, you tend to avoid stimulating colors and move toward cool, muted ones. When you are depleted, you often reach for warmth, amber, terracotta, deep red. When you are balanced, your preferences span the spectrum more freely. What color do you need tonight? Whatever it is, let your mind rest there, in whatever color feels most like hometo, the specific place you are in right now. Fact 68. Chromotherapy, structured therapeutic use of colored light, showed measurable effects in blood pressure in a controlled trial published in the Pakistan Journal of Medical Sciences. Patients receiving blue light therapy for 20-minute sessions over 4 weeks showed a statistically significant reduction in systolic blood pressure compared to the control group. The researchers attributed thisto, the parasympathetic activation, the rest and digest response produced by cool wavelength light exposure. The parasympathetic nervous system is the biological opposite of the fight or flight response. It slows the heart, dilates blood vessels, relaxes smooth muscle, enhances digestion. Your parasympathetic system is active right now. It has been activating since the light began to dim, since you lay down. Since you began to breathe slowly, your body has its own kind of chromotherapy, and it has been performing it on you for the last hour without your having to ask. Fact 69. The effect of color on mood is moderated by the saturation of the color, not just its hue. Research by psychologist James Russell at Boston College found that high saturation, vivid colors, regardless of hue, tend to increase arousal. Low saturation, muted versions of the same color tend to reduce it. A vivid electric blue is more arousing than a soft, dusty blue. A sharp, bright red is far more stimulating than a deep, muted burgundy. The world you move through during the day is often high saturation, screens optimized for vividness, advertising colors engineered for attention. The world you are in right now is low saturation, muted, dim, gentle. This is not a lesser version of the world. This is the version your nervous system was built to rest inside. Fact 70. Long-term exposure to overly stimulating color environments has been linked to increased cortisol reactivity. Research published in the Journal of Environmental Psychology found that people who work in high stimulation, high saturation color environments without adequate exposure to natural or dim light showed chronically elevated cortisol baseline levels and higher stress reactivity in challenging situations. Color stress is real. It is not dramatic. It does not announce itself. It simply accumulates, a low-level, constant elevation of the alert signal day after day, screen after screen. This is not a flaw in your resilience. This is not weakness. This is the body responding accurately to an environment it was not built for. Tonight is one response to that accumulation. One night of dark, one night of quiet, one night of giving your color system exactly the low input rest it needs. Every minute in this quiet darkness, unwinding something the day wound too tight. Fact 71. Your color perception changes throughout the day. Research by chronobiologist Till Roenebergat, Ludwig Maximilian University, Munich found that color sensitivity fluctuates in alignment with circadian rhythm. Peak color discrimination occurring in the late morning to early afternoon and declining significantly in the evening hours. By the time most people are preparing for sleep, their ability to discriminate between subtle shades of color has already reduced by a measurable degree. Your visual system is already moving toward its nighttime mode. This is not a failure of perception. This is the design. The body dims color receptors in the evening as part of the cascade of sleep preparation. The world is naturally becoming softer to you right now, less sharp, less distinct, more like a watercolor than a photograph. Let it. The softening is correct. Fact 72. The perception of color is deeply linked to the experience of emotional safety. Research by psychologist Peter Swedfeld at the University of British Columbia studied how people in extreme or threatening environments experience color. Survivors of prolonged isolation and extreme stress, including prisoners of war and polar expedition members, consistently reported intensified hunger for color upon return to normal environments. Color, it turns out, is one of the markers the brain uses to confirm that life is normal, that the environment is rich, varied, and safe. The colors of your ordinary life, the green of a plant, the blue of sky, the warm yellow of your kitchen at morning, are not background details. They are part of what tells your nervous system that everything is all right, and the soft, familiar dark of your room tonight is part of that signal too. Known, ordinary, safe, everything is all right. Fact 73. Color affects the perception of social status and personal competence. Research by Karen Pine at the University of Hertfordshire found that people dressed in or surrounded by black and deep navy were consistently rated as more competent, more authoritative, and more socially powerful than those in pale or muted colors. Meanwhile, warm oranges and yellows were associated with approachability and warmth, but lower perceived authority. We are reading each other through color constantly, and largely without awareness. Tonight, there is no one to read. There is no performance of competence required. No color-based status negotiation happening in the quiet of your dark room. You are, for these hours, simply a body at rest, not performing anything, not being read by anyone. The relief of that is real. Let yourself feel it. Fact 74. The color of the sky at dusk. The particular deep blue and violet of civil twilight has been found to naturally reduce physiological arousal more rapidly than any other naturally occurring color event. Research by environmental psychologist Rachel Kaplan at the University of Michigan found that viewing twilight sky, even in photographs, produced faster reductions in self-reported stress and lower skin conductance levels than images of other natural environments, including green forests and open water. The transition from day color to night color carries a biological instruction, the same instruction it has carried for every conscious human who has ever lived. For every person who has ever watched the blue deepen and the last light fade, the day is complete. The body may now rest. You have done enough. Fact 75. Right now, as you have been listening, the light in your environment has had real effects on the chemistry of your body. Melatonin is moving through your bloodstream. Built from serotonin, shaped by the darkness, arriving quietly at the receptors that regulate the transition into sleep. Cortisol is lower now than it was when you first pressed play. Your heart rate is slower. Your breathing is deeper. This is not imagination. This is not something you are performing. This is the measurable physiology of a body receiving exactly what it needs. You are still here, still somewhere between thinking and resting. Take one slow breath now. Your brain is producing more slow wave activity than it was an hour ago, moving along the continuum from beta waves through alpha toward the theta frequencies that mark the edge of sleep. We'll keep going together, gently. There is no hurry here, there never was. Fact 76. Color reveals something profound about the nature of consciousness itself. The fact that color does not exist in the physical world, that it is entirely constructed by the brain, tells you something important about the nature of all experience. Philosopher David Chalmers at New York University, whose work on the hard problem of consciousness, among the most discussed in modern philosophy, uses color experience as a central example of what he calls qualia, the subjective, felt quality of experience that cannot be fully explained by physical description alone. You can describe the wavelength of red perfectly. You can map every neuron involved in seeing it. And still, you cannot capture what red actually feels like from the inside. That felt quality, that irreducible inner experience, is yours alone. No instrument has ever measured it. No science has ever fully explained it. What this means is simple and astonishing. The color of your experience belongs to no one but you. Fact 77. The darkness visible to the eye at night is not a single experience. Research by vision scientist Stuart Anstasat, UC San Diego, found that the visual system adapts to darkness across multiple timescales. Rapid adaptation in the cone cells occurring within the first few minutes, followed by a much slower, deeper adaptation in the rod cells over the next 20 minutes. Full dark adaptation, the state in which the eye reaches peak sensitivity to low light, takes approximately 30 minutes. You may have been lying here long enough for your visual system to have completed its full adaptation to the dark. In this fully dark, adapted state, the rods of your retina are sensitive enoto detect a single photon of light, a single particle of light. This is the eye at its most open, its most receptive, its most attuned to what little is present. There is a particular kind of attention in the dark, one that has given up looking for things and simply receives what comes. That is the attention you are practicing right now. Fact 78. The blues and violets of the night sky, the astronomical twilight, the deep indigo, a clear night above the city lights, are created by Rayleigh scattering. Physicist Lord Rayleigh, working in the 19th century, explained that shorter wavelengths of light, blues and violets, scatter more easily in the atmosphere than longer wavelengths. This is why the daytime sky is blue, and why the sky at dusk goes through violet before it reaches black. The entire chromatic journey of the sky, from the blue-white of noon through the orange and red of sunset, through the violet of dusk into the deep black of night, is a color narrative, a story told in light every single day since the Earth first had an atmosphere. Your body has been listening to that story for as long as your species has existed. It knows how the story ends. It ends here, in the dark, in the quiet, in the color of rest. Fact 79. There is a color experience called Eigengrau, a German word meaning intrinsic gray. It describes the color you see when you are in complete darkness and your visual system has nothing to process. It is not black, it is a uniform, slightly warm dark gray. The baseline noise of the visual system itself, the color of your own perception, when perception has nothing to perceive. Researcher Lav Varshni at Mythos studied Eigengrau as a window into the resting state of the visual cortex, the default activity of the visual brain when the world has given it nothing to do. Right now, with your eyes closed, you may be seeing something like this: a warm, soft, undifferentiated gray. That is not emptiness. That is your visual brain at rest, not turned off, but turned inward, still alive, still present, simply no longer required to make sense of anything. Rest in that gray for a moment, the color of a mind that has let the world go. Fact 80. Color has been used to understand grief. Artist and researcher Kazimir Malevich, whose study of pure color in abstraction influenced modern art and color psychology, proposed that certain colors carry what he called inner vibration, a resonance between the viewer's emotional state and the color's qualities. Subsequent research in art therapy, including work by researcher Kathy Malkiodiet, the Trauma-Informed Practices Institute, has found that people in grief consistently choose different color palettes than people in states of joy or calm, gravitating toward blue-grays, deep greens, and muted purples when processing loss. Color is how the emotional body expresses what words cannot carry. If you have been carrying grief, or something adjacent to it, something heavy that doesn't have a name, your body already knows what color that is. It is allowed to be that color tonight. You do not have to resolve it. You do not have to change its hue. You only have to let it be what it is, and let the dark hold it for you, gently, without judgment, for the rest of this night. Fact 81. Color philosophy in ancient China linked hues to the 5 elements of the natural world. Green was associated with wood and spring, growth, emergence, the beginning of things. Red with fire and summer, peak energy, fullness, the apex of life. White with metal and autumn, refinement, precision, the beginning of withdrawal. Black with water and winter, depths, stillness, rest, the place beneath things. In traditional Chinese medicine, as documented by researcher Paul Unschuldat, the Institute for the History of Medicine in Munich, these color element associations guided treatment decisions for centuries. Black, the color of water, of winter, of depth, was the color of the kidney meridian, the body's root energy, its most foundational reserve. Black was the color of deep rest, of the body's most essential replenishment. The dark you are in tonight carries something of that ancient meaning. This is not poetic. This is a recognition that has lived in human culture for millennia. The dark is where the deepest restoration happens. Fact 82. The experience of color changes with the depth of your breath. Research by psychologist Vilayanur Ramachandranat, UC San Diego, whose work on the neurology of perception has produced some of the most cited findings in modern neuroscience, has explored how altered states of physiological arousal produce shifts in perceptual vividness. As breathing deepens and slows, as the diaphragm drops and the ribcage expands, parasympathetic dominance increases and perceptual sensitivity begins to shift. Colors become softer, edges dissolve, the sharp distinctions between things begin to smooth and blur. This is the beginning of the hypnagogic state, the transitional zone between waking and sleeping, where perception becomes fluid, where the rules of ordinary experience begin to soften at the edges. Your breath right now is doing this. You may notice, if you attend to it, that things feel slightly less defined than they did an hour ago. That softening is not a loss. That softening is arrival. Fact 83. In the philosophy of aesthetics, the concept of color temperature carries moral and spiritual resonance. Philosopher Wassily Kandinsky, in his 1911 text Concerning the Spiritual in Art, one of the foundational texts of modern color theory, proposed that warm colors move toward the viewer and cool colors recede away. That yellow moves outward with centrifugal force. That blue withdraws toward infinite depth. He called blue the color of the heavenly, not in a religious sense, but in the sense of vast, quiet, depthless space. Blue, he wrote, leads the human spirit into the infinite. Right now, the dark behind your closed eyes, something of that quality, a depth without edges, a quiet without floor. You don't need to reach into it. You only need to rest in the fact of its presence, the particular infinity of a quiet, dark room and a body that has decided, finally, to stop trying to be anywhere else. Fact 84. The color of dreams is different from the color of waking life. Research by psychologist Calvin Hall, who collected and analyzed over 50 Zivu dream reports in the mid-20th century, found that most people dream primarily in muted, desaturated colors, not the vivid, high-contrast palette of waking experience. Dream colors tend toward gray blues, soft greens, and warm neutrals. Vivid color in dreams is relatively rare, and often, when it occurs, it is associated with particularly emotionally charged or significant dream content. Dreams have their own palette, a softer one, a quieter one that moves through feeling rather than sight. As you drift toward the threshold of sleep tonight, you are drifting toward that palette, the sharp colors of the day, the electric blue of the screen, the white of the ceiling light, the red of urgency, are already fading. What is coming is softer. What is coming is the color of your own interior, warm gray, deep blue, the green of something growing in the quiet dark of a mind at rest. Fact 85. The Japanese concept of wabi-sabi describes beauty found in imperfection, incompleteness, and impermanence, and it is deeply linked to color. Traditional wabi-sabi aesthetics favor muted, earthy, desaturated colors, the gray of weathered wood, the soft brown of old ceramic, the faded green of moss on stone. Researcher Leonard Corin, in his study Wabi-Sabi for artists, designers, poets, and philosophers, describes wabi-sabi colors as those that have had the brightness drained from Thembi time and weather, colors that carry the memory of something more vivid and are beautiful precisely because they don't pretend to be what they were. There is a wabi-sabi quality to the dark you are resting in tonight. It is not the bright, performative color of the day. It is something older and quieter, worn smooth by the passage of all the days you have moved through. Beautiful not despite its quietness, beautiful because of it. Fact 86. As you approach sleep right now, your brain is producing more alpha waves. Alpha waves, in the 8 to 12 Hertz range, are the neural signature of relaxed, unfocused awareness. They were first recorded by researcher Hans Berger at the University of Jena in the 1920s, who used the term alpha for this most fundamental resting rhythm of the waking brain. Alpha activity increases in the visual cortex when you close your eyes because the color and light processing systems are no longer receiving strong input. That activity is what the soft, diffuse quality behind your closed eyes represents, the quiet hum of a visual brain that has been released from its task, a brain winding down, a mind growing soft at its edges. Fact 87. The color of the darkness behind your closed eyes is shifting right now. As you descend towards sleep, the visual cortex begins to generate its own internal imagery, fragments of color, shape, and movement that appear and dissolve without intention. These are hypnagogic hallucinations studied extensively by researcher Andreas Mavromatison, his foundational text, Hypnagogia. They are not dreams, not yet. They are the visual brain beginning to dream, testing the machinery of sleep. Imagery while the waking mind still observes. You may have already noticed them. A shape that formed and dissolved, a color that came from nowhere and went nowhere, a face you almost recognized. These are not things to analyze. They are the first language of sleep, the visual brain releasing its grip on the waking world, one soft image at a time. Let them come. Let them go. They belong to you. Fact 88. The warm amber and red of firelight is the oldest artificial light source in human history. Anthropologist Polly Wisner at the University of Utah studied the social behavior of the Juwansi people of the Kalahari around campfires, documenting how the transition from daylight to firelight coincided with a shift from practical activity to storytelling, emotional disclosure, and social bonding. The warm, flickering amber of fire is the color frequency that has accompanied human rest and community for approximately 400 years. Since the first controlled use of fire, your body knows this color. It is the color of safety in the dark, of others nearby, of the night being held by warmth and shared presence. The warm dark of your room tonight carries the very oldest color of human rest. You are lying down exactly where your species is, always laying down, in warm, safe darkness. At the end of the day, fact 89, the visual cortex does not go completely quiet in sleep. During REM sleep, the phase associated with vivid dreaming, the visual cortex activates to levels nearly identical to those of waking vision, as shown by researcher Robert Stickgold at Harvard Medical Schools. Using functional brain imaging studies, the brain generates its own light show in sleep, its own colors, its own moving images, entirely from the inside. This means that even in the deepest night, you are never truly without color. You carry the capacity for it within you, a self-generating visual world that activates the moment the waking world is no longer required. Whatever you dream tonight, you will dream in color, soft, interior, personally yours, the palette of your own unconscious, warm and fluid, and entirely free from the demands of the waking world. Fact 90. Prolonged time in low stimulation, low color environments produces measurable changes in neural plasticity. Research by neuroscientist Michael Merzenich, the University of California, San Francisco, whose work on brain plasticity is foundational to modern neuroscience, found that sensory rest, periods of reduced input, allows the brain to reorganize and consolidate learning and experience of the preceding period. Sleep is the primary form of this sensory rest, and the darkness that surrounds sleep, the low color, low stimulation environment, is part of what enables the brain to do its consolidation work. Tonight, while you sleep, your brain will process what you have heard here, the facts, the science, the particular feeling of lying in the dark and hearing your own experience reflected back as something ancient and shared and real. It will file it somewhere. It will weave it into the fabric of what you know about yourself. This listening is not passive. Even now, even as you grow heavy, your brain is doing something important with this. Fact 91. The transition from wakefulness into sleep can be mapped as a color journey. Researcher Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi at Claremont Graduate University, whose foundational work on flow states explored the transitions of consciousness, described the boundary between alert awareness and the hypnagogic state as a softening of perceptual boundaries. If you imagine the sharp, saturated color soft, full alert wakefulness, the electric blues, the bright whites, the vivid reds, they are high frequency, high energy experiences. As the brain descends towards sleep, these high-frequency color states dissolve into lower, warmer, softer ones. The saturated blue becomes dusty. The sharp white becomes warm gray. The vivid red becomes the deep, quiet burgundy of a sky just past sunset. You are somewhere in that color descent right now, softer than where you started, warmer than the sharp day you left behind. The colors in your mind are quieting. Let them. Fact 92. Your body temperature has dropped slightly since you began resting. Research by circadian biologist Mary Carskadon at Brown University found that core body temperature decreases by approximately 1 to 2 degrees Celsius in the hour before and after sleep onset, a physiological shift coordinated by the hypothalamus part of sleep architecture. This temperature drop is one of the most reliable biological signals that sleep is approaching. It is happening to you now, quickly. Below awareness, the warmth of your body settling inward, the surface cooling slightly, the core maintaining its deep warm pulse. This is your body preparing its interior for the particular kind of restoration that only sleep can provide. You are not failing to sleep. You are preparing for it. The preparation has been happening this entire time. Fact 93. The last thing most people see before sleep is a soft darkness with no hard edges. Research by sleep scientist William Dementat, Stanford University, one of the founders of modern sleep medicine, described the subjective reports of subjects at sleep onset as consistently including a dissolution of the visual field. Hard edges soften, contours blur, colors merge. The defined world gives way to something ambient and undifferentiated. This dissolution is not loss. It is the visual system handing over, passing the baton from the outer world to the inner one, from the world of color that is made of lito, the world of color that is made of dream. You may be approaching that moment now, that gentle dissolution, that soft blurring of the line between where you are and where sleep begins. Let the edges go. They will still be there in the morning. Fact 94. The darkness has a sound. Researcher John Cage, in his famous anechoic chamber experiment at Harvard in 1951, entered a room designed for total silence and heard two sounds, a high-pitched tone and a low humming one. He was told one was his nervous system and the other his blood circulating. In the quiet of your room tonight, the same thing is true. The sounds you hear are the sounds of your own living, your own blood, your own breath, the quiet hum of a body at rest. Color and sound together, the dark and the quiet, are not the absence of experience. They are the experience of yourself, your own interior world, which is, it turns out, the most familiar place you have ever been. You have been here every night of your life. This is the most known place there is. Fact 95. You are producing adenosine right now. Adenosine is a sleep-promoting molecule that accumulates in the brain throughout the day. The neurological pressure that increases the longer you remain awake. Studied extensively by researcher Thomas Bjornesat, the University of Texas Southwestern. By now, at this hour, your adenosine level is at or near its daily peak. It is the chemical weight of the day, the biological record of everything you have processed, responded to, decided, felt, and navigated since the moment you woke. It is pressing gently against the gates of sleep, and the gates are already open. The melatonin has opened them. The dark has opened them. The warmth of your body has opened them. The slowness of your breath has opened them. Everything that needed to happen has already happened. Fact 96. Right now, your brain is moving into a state called Stage 1 sleep. Stage 1 is the threshold, the lightest stage of sleep, characterized by the disappearance of alpha wave and the arrival of slow rolling theta activity. Research by sleep scientist Robert Stickle. Harvard Medical School describes this as the stage in which the brain begins to disengage from active conscious processing of the environment. The sounds of the room are still reaching you, but they are being processed differently now, more diffusely, less urgently, as texture rather than information. This is where you are, right at the threshold. The color of the waking world is nearly behind you now. Fact 97. In the color spectrum of your brain right now, the vivid, high-frequency activity of the day has given way to something slow and wide. Delta waves, the deep, long, slow oscillations of dreamless sleep, are still ahead of you, but you are moving toward them. The journey from beta to alpha to theta to delta is, in its own way, a journey through color. From sharp and bright and demanding to soft and warm and yielding, you are in the warm middle of that journey. The sharp colors are behind you. The deep, quiet dark is ahead. Fact 98. The nervous system is releasing its vigilance now. The amygdala, that ancient alarm system that has been reading your environment for the very moment of every waking hour, is quieting. Researcher Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley, in his foundational work on sleep science, describes how the amygdala's activity reduces significantly during non-REM sleep, allowing the emotional memories of the daytime be processed without the full charge of their original arousal. This is why sleep helps, why the things that feel enormous at night feel smaller in the morning. The amygdala is not running its calculations right now. It is resting, and so quietly are you. Fact 99. Every color you will ever see again, every blue sky, every green field, every golden late afternoon, will be built by the same brain that is building this darkness right now. The brain that creates color from wavelength also creates meaning from experience. It takes the raw data of the world and constructs something remarkable from it. A life, felt from the inside, saturated with color and meaning, and the particular texture of being you. That capacity does not switch off in sleep. It rests, and then it returns, refreshed, restored reality to build the colors of tomorrow. Tonight, you are not losing anything. You are allowing what needs to be restored to be restored. Fact 100. Right now, in this moment, your body knows something. Your waking mind sometimes forgets. It knows how to do this. It has done it thousands of times. It has crossed this particular threshold from the color and light of the waking world into the warm, soft dark of sleep on every night of your entire life. It does not need your help. It does not need your supervision. It only needs your permission. Researcher Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley describes sleep as the single most effective thing a human being can reset the health of their brain and body. Not medication, not exercise, not nutrition, sleep. The dark, the quiet, the particular color of a mind that has finally completely let the day go You have done everything right tonight. You showed up. You listened. You let your body do what it knows how to do. And now, you might be feeling tired right now. That is perfectly fine. Sleep doesn't come when you try to sleep. It comes when you stop trying. This is exactly that moment. Let your body be heavy now. Let your thoughts drift without catching. Let the colors behind your closed eyes do whatever they want to do. There is nothing left to hold, nothing left to manage. The night is taking care of itself, and you, inside it, are being taken care of too. And so, our quiet journey through the science of color comes gently to a close. Tonight, the science led us from the first fact that color is a creation of your brain, all the way through the neurology of wavelength and emotion, through the chemistry of light and sleep, through the ancient human history of color and healing, to this last soft truth. The darkness you are resting in right now is not the absence of color. It is the color of rest, built by your brain from your own history, carrying the weight and warmth of every night you have ever survived into morning. By pausing to notice the color of the world, to trace the wavelengths that move through you daily, we glimpse something universal about experience itself, that we are not passive observers of the world, we are its most extraordinary interpreters. And color is the language in which the world speaks most directly to the body. In these final minutes, take the deepest breath you can. As deep as possible, feel the expansion of it, the ribcage widening, the belly releasing, the body opening to receive something it needs. Color begins with light, and light begins with the breath, with the oxygen that keeps the visual brain alive, the cells of the retina firing, the extraordinary machinery of perception running. Every breath you take is part of the system that makes color possible. And this breath, now the deepest one, is the body claiming its right to be restored. Hold it for a moment, and then let it go. Let your entire being dissolve into the warm, unheld dark of a mind that has released the day, soft as Eigengrau, still as deep water, quiet as the color of the sky at the moment just after the last light has gone. Prepare for deep sleep, no edges left, no demands left, only the color of rest, only peace. If this journey has meant something to you tonight, if this quiet science has helped your mind find its way toward rest, please consider sharing this video with someone else who might need a softer kind of night. Your small action could be the reason another tired mind finds sleep. Whatever you have been turning over today, those half-formed thoughts, those moments you keep returning to, you don't need to carry them into sleep. They will still be there in the morning. Tonight, you belong only to yourself. You have traveled inward tonight through corridors most people never pause to notice. You touched the architecture of color and feeling and found it more capable, more patient, and more forgiving than it seemed. You can allow these thoughts of color to fade now, like the last wavelengths of a sunset, present, then softer, then simply part of everything. Leaving only the warm, unheld calm behind, let your breathing deepen, let your body feel heavier, as if every color you have ever carried has been gently, finally set down, and is simply settling into the dark. If sleep comes, Let it carry you the way the sky carries the last light of evening, not forced, not rushed, but arriving the moment you stopped asking it to hurry, into a realm where time and wait no longer matter. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting for you, ready to continue the journey. But if they are closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels safe and warm. Tomorrow, the colors of your world will be waiting for you, the same spectrum, seen with rested eyes from a restored mind. But tonight belongs to stillness. Rest well, sleepy soul, and remember, the colors of the world have always been on your side. Good night.